welcome back. Another session of Coffee with Moshe. I understand people have been interested, so we continue. Well, here we are again. During coronavirus times, people are stuck at home, so we're trying to keep you entertained, give you a little bit more of the background of Israeli Krav International and how things developed over the years. So even though we're kind of grounded at the moment and our seminars are canceled and our classes are canceled, we're trying to be innovative. So today I'm having coffee from Switzerland. I figure every day we'll feature a different country's coffee. So this is called Edel Composition, whatever. And it's a nice coffee from Switzerland where I've had several seminars over the years. So join me for a cup of coffee.
Amen.
And thank you once again to camera woman Esther for taking the videos and editing them and so forth.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. So today we got a comment on Facebook from an old friend of mine, a dear friend from Los Angeles, Mike Wallen. I know Mike since he was 17, or I think I was 17. He was a little bit younger, going back a few years, quite a few years. So he mentioned, what about Sensei Raven? So I didn't remember the last name, but I think of him as Sensei Tony, so it must have been Tony Raven, who taught us judo years ago. And I slipped my mind a little bit about that. So I'd like to devote this session to Sensei Tony Raven. May he rest in peace. As it turns out, Mike points out that he and his wife passed away some years ago. So I was a member of a group called the JDL, the Jewish Defense League in Los Angeles, and our job was to protect the Jews from being attacked. There was a lot of anti-Semitism against Jews, against synagogues. And Tony Raven, who wasn't Jewish, volunteered to train us. Mike writes that later on he and his wife actually converted to Judaism. So we had some basic training from the JDL, from some of the local guys there. We would patrol the streets, see what's going on. And in our center in Torrance, Tony would teach us, and we started with judo. I didn't know what use judo was for self-defense, but that's what they were teaching, so that's what we learned. And we went there once, twice a week. We trained with Tony. He was a wonderful guy, very devoted to us. And one of the lessons I remember from him was as follows. It's funny, I can picture him, I can hear his voice, and he was saying, first of all, you have to improvise. And again, we're going back a long time. I was just a beginner. He said, you can't go into a fight thinking I want to use my judo technique or this technique or that technique. He said, most of my fights were improvised weapons. He said, one time he saw a guy approaching him and looking suspicious. He took a newspaper, he said, and he rolled it up. He says, I rolled up the newspaper as tight as I could. And as the guy approached him, he just whacked him over the head, hit him in the neck, and managed to get him out of the way. He really hit him hard. He also said to us, besides using improvised weapons and being adaptable to the situation, he showed us that every fight had a souvenir. He said, look at this thumb, and he would say, it doesn't turn correct anywhere. Look at this elbow. He said, there's no such thing as a fight where you don't walk away with a souvenir. And when he said souvenir, he meant a permanent injury. That every fight he was in, he had something, a finger, a toe, a thumb, something that didn't work. Mike mentioned that he was a former cop, so he was a police officer besides being a judo instructor. Another thing I remember about Sensei Tony was that he invited us to his own dojo, besides where he taught at the Jewish Defense League in those days with Irv Rubin, Shelley Rubin, wonderful times. He took us to his own dojo, again, a nice basis. And I remember he had a kennel over there. Mike says it was a dog grooming place. And I thought it was unfortunate that such a fantastic instructor had to supplement his income with dog grooming. As I discovered later on, many people have to do this, that running a dojo is not always a very profitable thing. It's a very challenging job. You do it because you love it, you love teaching, you want to see people progress, but it's not always enough to make an income, and we have to work hard. So I remember that Tony did that as well. And Mike pointed out that he was a wonderful dancer, and as Mike said, many martial artists, such as Bruce Lee, were wonderful dancers as well. Bruce Lee was the 1958 Hong Kong Cha-Cha champion. And those two skills goes very well together. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the world's better dancers, probably in the bottom 1% of dancers worldwide. But those skills are useful if you can transfer them to martial arts. So today's session, that was a little bit of a memory of Sensei Tony Raven, may rest in peace, back in Torrance, California, the Jewish Defense League.